Hello everyone, today we are reading A Cretaceous Kiss Among the Smoke, written by Pirate Plunder on AO3. This is a One Piece fanfiction. It is a one-shot between Smoker and X-Drake. There are no archive warnings applying here. Summary. Newly assigned to his base, Drake is a conundrum and problem that gets on Smoker's last nerve. Is his heightened alertness around Drake an unconscious threat response? Things become clearer to Smoker, and then they're screaming about dinosaurs. The new base transfer was a mystery to Smoker. His fellow ensign brought with him whispers and hurried glances during training, and it was getting on Smoker's damn nerves. "Quit your damn yappin'," he growled the last time he'd seen anything, vein ticking in his forehead, the sign a headache would be forming. It had gotten him a tentative, relieved smile from the newcomer. Drake, Diaz Drake, why did Diaz ring a bell? Who hung close to Smoker for training from then on. This ticked off Smoker even more. He wasn't here to make friends, and he liked his solitude during training among his fellow lower-ranking officers who didn't bother him. His surly attitude created a smokescreen that kept everyone, excluded that damn persistent Hina, at bay. So after several weeks of looking up to see his partner for sparring was Drake, the spiky-haired man with an apologetic, bashful wave and smile, thankfully didn't try to force conversation. Smoker was a little confused. At first, Smoker had just shrugged and assumed he'd move on and get bored with Smoker's single-minded attitude and leave like everyone else when Smoker went all out. But the man just matched him blow for blow. Smoker wasn't sure if it was a challenge, whether his pounding heart meant the other man had pissed him off, or if he had left him feeling exhilarated when he'd made Smoker land on his ass on the training mat and then offered him his sweaty hand and a giddy grin. So like any mystery, he investigated, single-minded in his pursuit for answers. He hadn't expected to see him outside of training, no less at the smoker's shed behind the gym, as he gave the impression of a health nut. Clear skin, whitened teeth smile, unstained fingers, and Smoker had always glanced over to see him with some thick, disgusting vegetable pureed swamp juice. Smoker inclined a brow and offered him one of his cigars, which the man eagerly took with a quick thanks, yet didn't light it or put it in his mouth. He just awkwardly stood around, Smoker's cigar dangling in his fingers like he wasn't quite sure how to hold it. Smoker's inclined brow wasn't going to lower anytime soon, so he switched track with all the social grace of a giraffe on ice. "So, you're the son of a traitor?" Smoker listlessly watched the cigar plumes as they seeped against his skin before he took another drag. "Or the kiss-ass ward of Sengoku, depending on who you ask." The younger man was frowning now. Pale skin smarted pink around the bridge of his nose and tips of his ears. That spark in his blue eyes that Smoker had assumed was an essential quality dimmed. Wrong. He looked so wrong with that light gone from his eyes. Smoker had only been in his fellow ensign's acquaintance for several weeks now, but he had never seen such coldness in his features. Smoker had thought he'd like it, if Drake took things as gravely as Smoker did, but he now knew he was wrong. Drake was always a ginger spitfire of tentative joy, with easy smiles, encouraging words, and quick laughter at the dorkiest of puns. He made Smoker uncomfortable, but seeing him sad made Smoker feel even worse. "Sengoku is my father," Drake said, mouth firmly set. Smoker held the statement quietly, let it simmer and sit between them, filling the space with his smoke. Smoker just tilted his head in acknowledgement. He didn't negate it, didn't reject Drake's statement. He believed it because Drake believed it. The sincerity must have made Drake uncomfortable, flipping the script of their interaction, as he quickly cracked an uncertain smile and mussed up the hairs at the base of his neck. Barrels, too, if you want to be purely biological. Sometimes people can be many things at once, all of them true. Smoker shook a clump of ash from his cigar. The air behind the smoking shack beside the gymnasium was always chilly. The thin plywood offered little protection, especially from this snowy winter. Smoker's mouth felt particularly parched by smoke and chill when he rasped, "That's bullshit." Drake's eyes widened and he huffed a laugh. "Of course you'd say that. You're too straightforward and blunt for the ambiguities of this world, aren't you, Smoker?" Drake nudged Smoker's shoulder with his, and his warmth seeped into Smoker's skin. Smoker ignored a crackle of heat from the contact, taking one last heavy drag of his cigar before the flame on the tip hissed and flickered out, dead. There's always a truth under everything. You just have to be persistent enough to hunt it down. Drake gave him a hopeless smile, shaking his head. Frost plumed from his mouth, the air cold but warm where he breathed. "I hope you find what you're looking for," ensigned Smoker. Smoker's frown deepened as Drake left, leaving that last bit of warmth within. His frown didn't dissipate as he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out just why Drake kept approaching him. What did it all mean, and why did it leave him feeling like he was falling backwards, like he'd slipped suddenly on an autumn leaf and couldn't just turn to smoke to avoid the pain of impact? Was Drake in pain? Why did he care? Smoker slept maybe half an hour that night, and was grumpily making his way down the corridor to the firing range when clarity suddenly came to him like a gunshot. He wanted to kiss the other young man, and if Smoker was right, the other ensign was giving Smoker every sign that he wanted to be kissed back. With this in mind and all the variables in place, Smoker didn't hesitate. He pivoted on his foot, turning his legs to Smoke to speed up, and marched toward Drake's dormitory branch. He was no longer in the mood for target practice. He could hear Hina cackling in his head that he was in the mood for love. Maybe she wasn't wrong, but more than anything, he wanted to get to the bottom of things. The sound of screams drew him from his thoughts as he turned the corner. Several cadets were tripping over themselves and would have tripped into Smoker had he not maintained his smoke consistency to get away from a dinosaur standing behind the communal sink, a mug dipped in soapy water in one taloned hand and a rag cut through with the claw marks in the other. The dinosaur's jaw opened and closed in confusion at the sight of him, stepping back on their ungainly clawed feet. The Zoan user, for a tethered marine vest clung to their chest and a standard issue marine cap tilted precariously on its broad head, tried to cover their face with their hands. It had always struck Smoker whenever he'd been at museums how large dinosaur jaws were in comparison to their puny arms. Clearly, they all skipped arm day, and this dinosaur Zoan was no exception. Maybe he and Smoker could work on it together. The scratch mark wedged deeply on the creature's chin, X marks the spot, confirmed the dinosaur Zoan's identity, but Smoker would have known that apologetic and bashful glimmer in his eyes anywhere, even if the eye color was different, morphing from that pretty sea blue to a dangerous red. He rolled his eyes and stood his ground as yet another cadet wandering through the kitchen saw the Zoan, screamed, dropped his dirty dishes, and hightailed it out of there. You'd think they had never heard of devil fruits before. Smoker glowered after the man. The Zoan lowered his arms, tilting his head at Smoker in a quizzical and endeared way, as if he could not quite believe the Logia user hadn't been disgusted by his appearance. "I hear I can roar like a dinosaur in the morning, too," Smoker reassured, feeling awkward. "So what are you, some kind of T-Rex?" The Zoan snorted and gasped, offended, rearing back and opening his mouth. My, what sharp teeth he had! To give Smoker a talking to, or a roar. But Smoker merely raised his arms, and the Zoan was silent. I memorized all the devil fruits that had been passed through this base on record, and if I were a gambling man, I'd say you've eaten the Ryu no Mi, Muddle Allosaurus. Besides, you're a bit short for a T-Rex. The Zoan scoffed and rolled his eyes, the movement giving Smoker the opportunity to step closer. His eyes were locked on that perfect X on the dinosaur's chin. Smoker leaned in, eyes feeling hazy and hooded. He just knew he'd look embarrassing, so he was glad he couldn't see himself, as he murmured, "Tell me to stop. Don't just bite my head off." He gave the stone user time to pull away, to say no, but he just stood there, stunned, eventually leaning his tall and mighty neck down to meet Smoker, who had launched himself upwards a little with his smoke halfway. But Smoker's aim wasn't for the Zoan's lips. The strong jaw and accompanying sharp teeth in this form were a bit much for even Smoker to go for on the first kiss. Instead, he brushed a kiss against that raised, scarred skin on his chin. X marks the spot. It was a good target. Smoker's lips brushing once, twice in a gentle caress of smoke along the intersecting marks. The leathery scale around the scar pulled back, morphing back into smoother, milky skin. Drake blinked down at him, eyes hazy, face flushed, and slowly spreading smile, giddy. "That was my first kiss?" "Transformation," Drake interjected, blush spreading to his ears. Someone had stolen Sally's cereal, and someone else had left moldy dishes on the side of the sink, and I felt like I was exploding, and you walked into the room and kissed me. Well, you didn't even verify what dinosaur you were kissing." "Well, I was too busy avoiding the teeth," Smoker said, gloved hands tapping the now straight and small pearly whites. Drake obediently stilled before jerking his head back. "And sign Smoker. And besides, I barely noticed you were a dinosaur, other than things being a bit leathery. I walked into this dorm wing with the intention of kissing you, came into this kitchen, saw you working hard cleaning a mess while everyone else was screaming their heads off, knew immediately that it was you, and did what I came to do. You... It's what you've been waiting around for, right?" "Well, no, but yes, but not..." "I'm not mushy, and I'm not romantic, but I don't have a shift this weekend if your schedule was also free." "Are you..." Drake spluttered, hurriedly putting the now cracked mug off to dry. "Are you asking me on a date?" Smoker shrugged. He could really have done with another cigar, but instead he just crossed his arms and glared Drake down as if he were a problem, unused to dealing with anything other than head-on and aggressively. "I'm asking if you're free this weekend." Smoker could feel heat pulling under his cheeks, and he hated it. His skin felt itchy, and his decision seemed more stupid and impulsive by the second. Drake just beamed. And there we go. So this is the end of A Cretaceous Kiss Among the Smoke. Honestly, I think this fic is really cute. And it makes me giggle every time. Um, I hope you didn't hear me struggle too much to read it at the end, as I had to pause a few times to giggle to myself. But yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed this. If anyone has any recommendations, do leave them in the comments, and do go give lots of love to the original author of this fic. I hope everyone has a good night, and I will see you next time.